This is the second in our video series called Tips of the Barista. Our purpose with these videos is to let people know how we professionals go about things in the coffee industry, and in turn we educate our customers so that they can get the very best out of their coffee at home. So today we're going to talk about tamping, and this is the tamp. Before I can tell you how to make the perfect shot of espresso, we have to talk about tamping. Tamping is simply applying a downward force on your ground coffee beans to spread them in an even, uniform way in your coffee handle, or group handle we call it, or the chamber of your stovetop coffee maker. It's only really useful when you're making espresso. Now, a tamp, it's a flat-bottomed tool that is about 1 millimetre in diameter, smaller than your group handle. And that's the simple explanation. It's just simply spreading evenly your coffee grounds to make it a little bit harder for the water to get through your coffee. I'll get into the more science of it, I guess, now, because there's a little bit more to it than just pressing down on your coffee. Now, espresso is a combination of correctly roasted coffee beans, ground to the right size, extracted with water at the correct temperature for the correct length of time under the right pressure. It'll all make sense once we go back and look at those things, but it's quite a simple formula. So it's the time and the pressure part where the tamp plays its critical role. So I'll talk about time for a second. The first thing that tamping does is that it slows down the water flow through the ground coffee. So if your beans are ground correctly and you've tamped firmly, your shot of espresso should take about 26 to 28 seconds to complete. Without tamping, it would be noticeably quicker. Now, it's a chemical reaction that's happening when you're brewing espresso. And experience has shown us that it takes us 26 to 28 seconds to get the best result. Too much longer and your coffee will have a white streak showing, and that's a sure sign of an over-extracted bit of coffee. Too little time will result in a weak shot with no real depth of flavour. So the other element is pressure. The pressure that espresso is extracted at, the water pressure we're talking about, is about 120 pounds per square inch, and for you oldies like me out there, that makes sense. To put that into perspective, the average car tyre is pumped up to about 36 pounds per square inch. So the water is under a lot of pressure, and water under this pressure will always find the line of least resistance through the coffee grounds. If the ground coffee isn't tamped smoothly and firmly, then the water will gush through it just like a waterfall straight through the centre, and we call that channeling. So the rest of the coffee around the outside of that channel doesn't even get a chance to fully extract. So believe it or not, this coffee is also over-extracted, although it's weak, because all the water has run over the same area of the coffee beans. I'll demonstrate how it's done. Okay, so why don't we do a practical demonstration on how we tamp. This is very simple, so just watch what I do. The easiest way to tamp is to overfill to start with. Normally on these things 2 clicks is fine, but if you're pouring coffee in, maybe overfill it a little. Use your finger, or in my case a paddle pop stick, and level the coffee off. Don't waste any, you can go back. Tamp. Just lightly to start with, tap, tap, so everything settles, and then tamp with your normal pressure. Make sure, if you can, that that surface is as level as possible. You can see it's a little bit higher there than there. We can just twist it to one side, rotate. That's polishing the surface, which gives us a perfectly flat surface, and there's no little holes or nicks or anywhere where the coffee can get the water can get a head start through the coffee. That's a polished surface, and that will extract really well. Last thing we normally do is wipe it over to get any coffee grounds off this surface because they can wear out the seals on your machine. Tamped.